Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to tell you about a movie based on real events, Adrift. A couple in love while traveling on a yacht gets caught in a terrible storm. The movie begins with a view of the cabin of a half-submerged yacht, where the wounded heroine, a girl named Tammy, is recovering. The girl examines the mess as long as the water stays. She takes off her life jacket and climbs out onto the deck. The tilted yacht with a broken mast is rocking on the waves in the middle of the vast Pacific Ocean. The events are moved back 5 months to Tahiti in 1983. Tammy arrives on the island on a yacht, where she worked as a cook, and then goes through customs control. The girl admits that she has no specific goal, she is just traveling the world. In order to continue her journey, she works at whatever she can, including repairing and maintaining boats, and in her free time she surfs. One day Richard's yacht, a lover of Caribbean mermaids from strange shores, docks at the pier where Tammy works. The girl helps the sailor dock, getting acquainted in the process. They continue their acquaintance over dinner aboard the boat, which also serves as the traveler's home. Richard tells about how he crosses seas and oceans alone for the sake of inexpressible sensations. Tammy understands his feelings perfectly well. The two of them go out to sea to go sailing. The girl, despite her profession as a cook, has enough basic skills to sail a yacht. The story revisits the future where they are wrecked. Finding Richard nowhere to be found, Tammy sends distress signals into the radio airwaves, but no one responds. The girl looks for the boy through binoculars, but there is nothing to be seen among the vast water surface. Upset, she lies on the deck in tears while the story once again moves back in time. The heroes climb up a flattering trail into the mountains, straight to a mountain river in a narrow gorge. Tammy undresses and jumps into the water right off the cliff, forcing Richard to follow. The girl doesn't surface for a long time, which gives the guy scary thoughts. He dives in and sees her lurking at the bottom. They frolic and fool around in the water, and then move to a tropical beach, where they lie on the white sand in the shade of a lonely palm tree. The girl is distracted from happy memories of carefree days by suspicious sounds. She grabs her binoculars and sees a lone dinghy in the distance. Thinking that it is the rescued Richard, Tammy tries to start the engine of the sinking yacht, but the sail on the starboard side prevents her from moving. Using a bolt cutter, the girl cuts the sail, but she lost her balance and fell into the water. Barely drowning under the white blanket, Tammy surfaces and sees that the current has carried her away from the ship. She swims after the floating boat and struggles to catch up with it. On board, the girl tries to patch up the boat with duct tape. After fixing the holes, Tammy pumps the water out of the cabin and then tries to fix the second mast so that she has something to set the sail on. As the boat slowly drifts in the crosswind in the right direction, she discovers that the fresh water supply has run out. Soon the yacht reaches an overturned dinghy, on which an insensitive man is lying. Having tied a rope for insurance, the girl throws herself into the water to save her lover. She drags him aboard, where she tries to bring him to his senses and notices the wound on his leg. Trying to make the man comfortable, the girl discovers that in addition to his leg, his ribs are also broken. At the event, the heroine tells about herself, how she reached the life of a careless traveler. After dinner, the heroes dance. During a slow dance, Richard invites Tammy to go with him on a boat to travel around the world. They begin to plan their voyage together. At the market, they meet some old acquaintances of Richard's. They ask him to move their yacht from Tahiti to California, as they are going to London. Without even consulting the girl, the guy accepts the offer, as he will be paid and 2 return tickets to the island. Of course, such a decision does not like the lady too much, which leads to an unpleasant conversation. Tammy does not want to return to the United States. Richard plans to refuse the offer. However, having visited acquaintances on their yacht, which in luxury does not go in any comparison with the hero's homemade boat, they agree. Tammy even writes a letter to her mother, in which she says that she will soon return home. Afterward, they set sail from Tahiti, admiring the sunset. Calculating their speed and checking the wind, the survivors figure out how to get to land, try to head upwind to California or take advantage of the current and try to get to one of the Hawaiian islands. Tammy spins the helm, steering the yacht toward Hawaii. Later she manages to fix the water supply, which puts off the prospect of death from dehydration for a while. 5 days after the crash, Tammy notices that they are not traveling on the same course as they expected. Perhaps the reason is a broken steering wheel. The nerves of the heroes fail and they begin to quarrel. To increase the chances of salvation, the girl has to girdle herself with a rope and dive under the bottom of the boat. There she tries to free the rudder from the sail, which is caught on the rudder and interfering with the steering. Tammy repeatedly dives under the water, trying in vain to unhook the unwanted fabric. She soon succeeds. The heroes have been adrift in the ocean for 10 days. She finds sunscreen and slathers Richard with it. She also has to treat a wound on his leg, which doesn't look too good in the current conditions. On top of that, both water and canned food are running low, supplies for a week at most. Richard, pointing to the harpoon, hints that they could try to catch fish for lunch, but Tammy reminds him that she is a vegetarian and refuses to kill fish for ideological reasons. The logical objection that without food they won't make it to land, and a man with broken ribs and a broken leg is such a hunter, which convinces the girl. Tammy has to dive into the waters around the yacht with flippers to catch fish. However, everything turns out to be much more complicated. Cunning fish easily evade the girl's attacks. Soon it starts to rain, which allows the survivors to replenish their water supply. They have been drifting for 18 days. Once again searching the cabin, Tammy finds a stash of alcohol and cigars. They throw a party. Later, Richard apologizes to the girl for getting her into this mess. The story goes back in time. During the evening conversation, Richard proposes to Tammy, to which she agrees. He puts a homemade ring on her finger, promising to give her a real engagement ring on land. 29 days adrift in the ocean. Waking up in the middle of the night, Tammy notices the glowing lights of a cargo ship in the darkness of the night, which is heading straight for their small boat. She fires her flares, but because they are too close to the hull, they are not noticed on board. However, the lights suddenly dissolve into the night, making the girl realize that she is hallucinating. She becomes hysterical, but it doesn't last long. Richard supports her as best he can. Nevertheless, his condition worsens. He sleeps almost all the time, and when he wakes up, he barely reacts to what is happening. In the past, the wind increases. Richard checks the weather forecast on the radio and hears a storm warning of a major hurricane. He calculates on the map where the storm is passing. Tammy suggests changing course to miss the storm, and the man prudently agrees with her. She gives a turn to go around the storm front while Richard secures the tackle. Soon, big waves are rising. The boat is tossed up and down. Richard struggles with the sail, trying to get it off, but he needs the girl's help. He can't do it alone anymore. The radio says it's Hurricane Raymond, and it's a Category 4 out of 5. During another wave, one of the fixed sails nearly comes off. Tammy sets off along the side to fix it. When she returns, a real ninth swell is bearing down on the boat. Richard manages to send his companion into the hold, remaining at the helm. The boat goes into a vertical fall, from which the girl falls, and the man is thrown against the mast. 33 days adrift in the open ocean. The wind picks up again, leading Tammy to the frightening thought that another storm is brewing. She makes a canopy out of the sail, but the storm never starts. The girl lies next to the guy, who is feverish, and tells him about her past. In the morning, the guy wakes up the tired heroine. Through her sleep, she confesses her love for him and tells him she will have to let him go. The camera returns to the aft seat, where the man has been lying all this time, but there is no one there. All this time, Richard has been a figment of Tammy's imagination. She remembers him telling her that being alone at sea had caused hallucinations after a couple of days. The 41st day of drifting comes. A bird lands on the bow of the boat, and the heroine does not immediately realize that this is a sign. There is land nearby. She looks around, trying to get a sense of direction, but soon the bird takes off. Looking that way through binoculars, Tammy sees the outline of an island. Soon the first ship also shows up on the horizon. The heroine loads her signal pistol and fires a rocket into the air. After the second shot, the ship turns in her direction, cutting the silence with its beeps. Fresh fruit is handed to her and the yacht is towed to shore. In the next scene, Tammy is rolling through the city in a cab. She has returned to Tahiti, where Richard's boat is located, and in its cabin are photos from their travels together. The only memory of a potential husband who died shortly after proposing marriage. In the final scene, Tammy goes to the beach wearing a dress Richard gave her and blows a white flower on the waves, just like the one he once gave her. The movie ends with credits and archival photos and video. Richard drowned at the age of 33 during a storm. Tammy spent 41 days alone on the high seas. She was 24 at the time. She still goes out to sea,